Dr. Lena Cho sat back in her chair, staring at the glowing screen of the radar station. It was late, and the other two scientists, Carlos and Amir, were engrossed in a game of cards, the soft hum of the machines, and the faint click of shuffling. Cards, the only sounds breaking the silence of Antarctica's frozen night. The station was located far from civilization, a cold and lonely place where the world's most important discoveries often came in the dead of night. Lena, a quiet woman, with a sharp mind, didn't mind the solitude. It gave her time to think, to observe, and to dig into the data. Then, suddenly, the machine let out a soft ping, a sound that was anything but ordinary. Lena's eyes snapped to the screen. Her fingers froze, suspended over the keyboard. The radar had just picked up something unusual, something that shouldn't have been there. Her pulse quickened as she saw the data on the screen. A repeating signal, perfectly timed, structured. Something intelligent. It was too regular to be random, noise, or a natural phenomenon. She quickly checked the coordinates. This wasn't from Earth. It came from the deep reaches of space, far beyond the orbit of Mars. Carlos and Amir didn't notice at first, still too focused on their cards. But Lena knew this was something important. She leaned forward, tapping at her console with trembling fingers. The data was more complex than anything she had ever seen. This wasn't a satellite malfunction or a solar flare. This was a message. "Guys," Lena said softly, trying to keep her voice calm, "you need to see this." Amir looked up, his brow furrowed in confusion. "What is it?" Lena didn't answer. She was too focused on the patterns unfolding before her. The message was repeating, but it wasn't in any language she recognized. Not binary, not even any known code. It was a rhythmic pattern, almost musical. Yet something about it felt deliberate, purposeful. Carlos, sensing the urgency in her voice, moved over to her side, his eyes scanning the screen. "What's going on? Is that a message?" Lena nodded. "I think so. And it's not from Earth." The realization hit them like a punch to the gut. For a moment, no one spoke. They just stared at the screen, unsure of what to do next. This was it. A signal from beyond the stars. A connection. An invitation. A warning. It took just seconds for the news to spread. Within moments, Lena sent a secure message to the higher authorities, alerting them to the discovery. The world was about to change forever. The governments of Earth didn't take long to react. The signal was intercepted by stations all over the planet, each listening, watching, translating. In less than a day, the message had been decoded. It wasn't in English, French, or Chinese. It wasn't in any human language at all, but the translation came swiftly thanks to advanced AI systems. The words were simple. "Congratulations, humanity. You have reached level 1. Please hold for further instructions." The message was clear. Someone, or something, was watching Earth. They had been watching for a long time. And now that humanity had reached a certain level of technological advancement, they had been deemed worthy of something. What, exactly? The message didn't explain. The world went into a frenzy. Leaders, scientists, military officials, everyone had a part to play in this. Nations scrambled to form the Earth Galactic Response Council. What did this Level 1 mean? Who was sending this message? And what were the further instructions they were promised? The message had ignited a firestorm of debate, fear, and excitement. The human race had always dreamed of contact with alien civilizations. But this was real. And now, humanity had to decide. Would they answer? Would they take the next step into the unknown? Or would they reject it, unsure of what lay on the other side? But one thing was clear. Earth was no longer just a tiny blue dot in the vast empty space. The galaxy was watching, and Earth had caught its attention. The whole planet watched as the signal returned. But this time, it wasn't just sound or patterns. It was a face, or something close to one. Floating in the air above the United Nations, Council Chamber was a giant glowing figure made of silver light. Its body had no clear shape, just smooth curves and shifting lines that glowed softly. Its face had 2 eyes and a mouth, but everything looked like it had been drawn by light, instead of skin. It was beautiful, strange, and terrifying all at once. People gasped. Some stood frozen. Others clutched the sides of their seats. Cameras from every corner of Earth broadcasted the event live. "I am Nurex," the being said in perfect English. "I speak for the Galactic Alignment." The voice was deep, calm, and echoed as if it came from all directions at once. There was no visible speaker, no machine behind the image. The hologram just hovered in mid-air, waiting. President Leanne Morales of the Earth Galactic Response Council took a step forward. She was known for being calm under pressure, but even her hands shook slightly as she spoke. "Welcome to Earth," she said. "What is the Galactic Alignment?" Nurex gave a slow nod. "The Alignment is a peaceful group of 7,000 advanced civilizations. We watch new planets closely. When a species reaches level 1, spaceflight, stable energy use, artificial intelligence, we invite them to join." A silence followed. Everyone in the room looked at each other, barely believing what they were hearing. After all the stories, all the science fiction, all the theories, it was real. They weren't alone in the universe. And the galaxy had come to invite them. Nurex continued, "Joining the alignment gives you many things. Access to ancient knowledge, protection from outside threats, shared technology, travel between stars. In return, you follow our laws, share your discoveries, and pay tribute. It is a fair exchange." That last part made some people frown. "Tribute?" asked General Hunt, a large man from the U.S. delegation. "Yes," said Nurex, as if it was the most natural thing in the world. 10% of your planet's resources. It can be material, energy, or scientific data. Most worlds find it quite easy. More silence. Some people started whispering behind their hands. Others stared at their screens. 10% of Earth's resources? That wasn't a small request, especially when the planet was still dealing with war, climate change, and poverty. Some leaders looked excited. Access to thousands of alien worlds, alien knowledge, even protection from danger. But others saw something else: rules, taxes, loss of freedom. Dr. Lena Cho, now one of the top scientific advisors, stepped forward with a simple question. "What if we don't want to join?" Nurex paused, and the glow around its body flickered slightly. "Refusal is uncommon," it said. "But you are free to choose. We do not force membership. However, if you say no, you will be alone. You will not receive help, and some may see your planet as unprotected." That didn't sit well with anyone. President Morales asked, "Are there any species who refused?" "Yes," said Nurex. "Some refused. Some became problems. Most no longer exist." The words were quiet but heavy, like a quiet warning wrapped in politeness. The meaning was clear. Saying no might be allowed, but it came with danger. Earth had just stepped into a much larger world, one filled with power, rules, and hidden threats. After Nurex disappeared, the council began to argue. Some believed the offer was a gift. Others said it sounded like control, like a peaceful kind of colonization. People debated all night. Should humanity accept help and safety in exchange for tribute and rules? Or should they take the risk and stay free? No one knew the answer yet. But one thing was clear. The galaxy wasn't waiting forever. Earth had been offered a place in the stars. Now it had to decide what kind of species it truly was. The days that followed were filled with chaos, hope, and fear. Every country on Earth held emergency meetings, and everyone had something to say. Some leaders saw the offer from Nurex as the greatest chance in history, a ticket to becoming a part of something much bigger, something powerful and advanced. Others saw a quiet threat hidden behind kind words. News channels ran non-stop debates. People marched in the streets, and scientists stayed up night after night trying to study the message for anything hidden. At the center of it all was the Earth Galactic Response Council, made up of the brightest minds and most trusted leaders from around the globe. They worked day and night in a secure station beneath the Swiss Alps, talking about what the future should be. Inside that mountain base, Dr. Lena Cho sat with her team, studying every bit of information they had received from the alignment. There were no lies in the data, at least none they could find. The knowledge Nurex promised was real. They had shown how to grow food in barren land, how to cure diseases Earth had struggled with for centuries, and even how to bend gravity. It was overwhelming, beautiful, and terrifying. "They're not lying," Lena said one night, exhausted, but sure. "But they're not telling us everything either." At the same time, military leaders like General Hunt were more focused on what Nurex had hinted at: danger. The moment Earth said no, the planet would be on its own. And there were things out there, powerful things, that looked for easy targets. General Hunt slammed his hand on the table during a meeting. "If we join, we bow forever. If we refuse, we paint a target on our back. Either way, we lose something." The room fell quiet. No one had an answer. That night, President Morales sat alone in her private office. She watched old recordings of Earth's history: wars, revolutions, great inventions, the first time humans walked on the moon. Her face was tired, her eyes full of worry. "They say we're ready," she whispered to herself. "But are we?" The final meeting came a week later. Every world leader was present, either in person or by secure connection. The vote was simple: join the Galactic Alignment or reject the offer. As the vote went around, the world held its breath. Some nations voted yes, eager to step into the future. Others voted no, refusing to give away even a piece of Earth's freedom. When the final count was done, the result shocked everyone. The vote was tied. It was up to President Morales to break it. She stood, looked around, and said, "I believe in humanity's strength. I believe we should walk forward with our own steps. Not because we're afraid, not because we hate peace, but because we still have growing to do." Then she pressed the red button on the desk. That button, prepared weeks earlier, sent Earth's official response through the same channel used to contact Nurex. A simple message: "Thank you for the offer, but Earth chooses its own path." There was no grand speech, no long explanation, just that. The message went silent. The glowing star map on the wall flickered once, then faded. The screen went black. For a moment, no one moved. Everyone waited, expecting a reply, but none came. The stars stayed quiet. Then, for the first time in history, Earth had hung up on the galaxy. Not out of fear, but out of choice. The galaxy had plans for Earth, but Earth had its own. After Earth made its choice, everything seemed to go quiet. At first, people thought they might have done the right thing, standing up for their independence. The leaders and the people were proud. They'd rejected the galaxy's offer, choosing to control their own fate. But as days passed, a strange feeling of unease began to settle over the world. It was as though Earth had made a huge decision, and now the consequences were starting to show. In the following weeks, nothing happened. No new messages came through the channels. No new alien ships appeared. The stars, which had seemed so alive with possibilities, now felt distant and unreachable. People went about their daily lives, trying to move on. But something in the air felt off. Governments tried to stay calm, but deep down, they wondered if they had made the right call. Meanwhile, the scientific community was divided. Dr. Lena Cho, now part of the core team working on Earth's long-term future, couldn't shake the feeling that they had missed something. The data Nurex had shown was incredible, but they hadn't even scratched the surface. It was like the galaxy had opened a door to a treasure chest, and, for some reason, they had closed it without looking inside. And then, the first sign of something strange appeared. It wasn't big. It wasn't a grand event. But it was enough to catch the attention of the world's governments. A small, strange object appeared in Earth's orbit. It was small, just a dot in the sky at first. Scientists called it an asteroid, but it wasn't moving like an asteroid. It was stationary, hovering just above Earth, locked into a perfect orbit. For days, it didn't change. It wasn't sending out any signals, no strange light patterns, no communication. But it was there, watching. People began to worry. Were the galactic civilizations sending a message? Had they decided to retaliate against Earth's choice? Some thought it was a warning. Some thought it was a trap. Military forces around the world started to keep a close eye on the object, but no one knew what it was or what it wanted. There was a quiet fear building in the background of daily life. Earth had rejected the galaxy. But what if there were consequences they hadn't considered? On the surface, life went on. People went to work. Children played. But underneath, an air of tension lingered. Governments formed emergency committees. Secret meetings were held behind closed doors, where the top leaders debated what to do next. Was it time to reconsider the decision to reject the alignment? Should Earth reach out again? But President Morales, still standing firm in her belief in humanity's independence, refused to give in to fear. She continued to stand by the decision that Earth should walk its own path, regardless of the unknowns. Meanwhile, Lena continued her research, diving deeper into the unknown data from the galaxy. The object in space wasn't the only sign that something was different. There were patterns, subtle shifts in Earth's communications network, strange glitches in satellite data, and signals that didn't come from anywhere on Earth. Lena's team was puzzled. Nothing made sense. Earth had refused the offer. But now it felt like Earth was being watched, and the galaxy wasn't going to let go of the planet so easily. Just when it seemed like Earth might be slipping into a dangerous quiet, the object in the sky began to change. Slowly at first, it moved, drifting closer to Earth's atmosphere, almost as though it was testing the planet's defenses. Lena stared at her monitors, her heart racing. Something was coming. Something bigger than they realized. The galaxy had made its offer. Earth had said no. But now something else had begun. And Earth was going to have to face what happened next, alone or not. The galaxy wasn't finished with them yet. The tension on Earth grew as the mysterious object in space drew closer. It was no longer just a strange dot in the sky. It had become a massive presence, looming just outside Earth's atmosphere. Satellites and telescopes tracked its every movement, and every country was on high alert. People had been waiting for a response from the galaxy, but now they realized that they were no longer waiting for a message. They were waiting for a confrontation. For weeks, Earth's governments struggled with how to respond. Military forces were mobilized, and secret meetings took place behind closed doors. Despite all their preparation, no one knew what the object was, or what its purpose was. It didn't communicate, it didn't attack, and it didn't seem to have any clear plan of action. But it was there, and that presence alone was enough to make the world nervous. Some people believed it was a sign that the galaxy was about to retaliate for Earth's rejection. Others thought it was a test, a way for the galaxy to see if Earth had the strength to stand alone. The longer the object stayed, the more fearful people became. But then, something unexpected happened. The object began to send out a signal. It was faint at first, barely detectable, but it was a signal nonetheless. It was unlike anything Earth had ever encountered before. It wasn't just a message. It was a series of images, a strange form of communication that seemed to be a mix of light and sound, forming patterns that made no sense. At first it was confusing, but soon scientists managed to decode part of it. The message was simple. You chose. Now we choose. Earth's leaders didn't know how to respond. This wasn't a direct attack, but it was clear the object wasn't a friendly visitor either. The signal continued for days, getting louder and more complex as it approached Earth. It felt like a warning, but also like a challenge. The message had no clear meaning beyond that one line, but it seemed like the galaxy was making its intentions known. This wasn't just about Earth's decision anymore. The galaxy was now involved in a game of power, and Earth was caught in the middle. As the object neared Earth's atmosphere, something shifted. The skies began to glow with strange colors, and the air itself seemed to crackle with energy. People across the world watched in awe and some in fear as the object hovered above them, almost like a giant eye watching over the planet. It was like nothing anyone had seen before. Earth wasn't prepared for this. No one knew what to do. President Morales made the difficult decision to reach out again, hoping that they could avoid a conflict and find some kind of understanding. A final message was sent out to the object. We are still here. We stand by our choice, but we are open to discussion. The object didn't respond. It simply remained in place, suspended in the sky. It was as if the galaxy was waiting, watching, waiting for Earth to make its next move. And then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, the object began to move again. Slowly at first, but with more purpose. It moved further away from Earth, retreating back into the dark void of space. There was no attack, no destruction, just a quiet withdrawal. People didn't know whether to feel relieved or terrified. Had they been spared, or had they simply been ignored? The object's departure didn't bring peace, but it left Earth with a deep sense of uncertainty. The galaxy hadn't answered their questions, and now they were left alone once more. But it wasn't the end. The message was clear. Earth had made its choice, and now the galaxy had made its own. The future was uncertain, and humanity stood at the edge of the unknown, uncertain whether they would ever see the galaxy again, or if the galaxy would ever let them forget their decision. The question wasn't over. It had only just begun. The galaxy had plans for Earth, until humans hung up first.